I'm the idiot on the writer's block, and I'm going to talk about why I decided to go down the self-publishing route. Hi, I'm Marcus, and I'm the idiot on the writer's block. If you're new to the channel, I, the idiot, ask experts for tips on how to write, publish, and promote my first fiction novel. And what do you know? I recently dropped the book trailer for my first graphic novel, Call 1-800-Kill-A-Guy, Book 1. If you haven't already seen the trailer, I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Whoa! A quick interjection to give a shout out to Blurred Without Fear, a YouTuber who talks about comic books, to have frank conversations about comic books regardless of major publisher or indie publisher. Check out Blurred Without Fear. He recently started reviewing indie comics. That section is called Indie Corner. You can check this link right here to a review he gave of Culliver City Chronicles, Call 1-800-Kill-A-Guy. Blurred Without Fear, you're awesome, man. For all the other videos on the channel, click this link right here. And if you have already seen the trailer and are interested in pre-ordering the book, I have links in the description to this video so you can go ahead and do so. You can also help me out by liking and sharing the videos, as well as subscribing to this channel for more tips on how to write, publish, and promote your first fiction novel. Now, there are 3 main ways to get your book published: traditional publishing, self-publishing, and vanity publishing. No, not vanity publishing. Check this video right here where experts tell me why I should never go down the route of vanity publishing. So, there are 2 main ways to get your book published: traditional publishing, which includes the big publishers and indie publishers, or self-publishing. I chose to go down the self-publishing route with the Culliver City Chronicles series and my middle grade fiction, which is coming out later on in the year. And I'll explain why I did it a little later. But first, I asked some of my experts why they chose to self-publish. So here's the question I threw on the writer's block: why did you choose to self-publish? And here are some experts who explained to me why they decided to self-publish.
There's basically, I would say, 4 ways to publish your book these days, right? There's just traditional publishing, which is where you publish a book with maybe, say, the Big 5 or other larger presses. So the Big 5 are like Macmillan, Penguin, Random House, so on and so forth. And in that model, you sell your book, you sell the rights to your book to that publisher. In exchange, they give you an advance, so a lump sum of money, and if you earn out that advance, you make royalties. The second option is indie presses. These guys are called independent presses, and they are not the bigger publishers, so they might not have the same marketing reach, but they're usually more agile, and the books that they pick up could be things like genre bending, mashup sort of things. They usually do not offer advances because they're too small, but they offer maybe higher royalties. So that's option number 2. And usually that's for people that maybe they can't get a literary agent, but they don't want to self-publish and they kind of want to collaborate with a press. Option 3, self-publishing. So you pay all the upfront costs and you publish the book yourself. So that, there is an upfront cost to publishing, but you keep all of your rights. Vanity presses are the 4th option, and essentially they make you pay to publish your book with them. Often they take the rights as well. And those are literally the 2 worst parts of self-publishing and traditional publishing mashed together. So self-publishing, the biggest downside, you got to pay all the upfront costs. Traditional publishing, the downside is you lose your rights and that the publisher now has them. Vanity presses, they take both, and then their business model is they don't usually earn money from selling your book. They earn money from you, the author, paying them to publish your book. Then if you want author copies, you usually have to pay exorbitant fees to get your author copies. Vanity presses back in the olden days used to be the only way to self-publish your novel before self-publishing was really an option. And there are things called self-publishing service companies where you pay a company to help you self-publish, but you keep your rights and they will give you all the things that you use to publish a novel. And that's usually for say businessmen or doctors or someone who want to publish a book and they don't have time to learn how to self-publish it, and they have more income than time. So they pay someone to help them self-publish a book. But the key difference is they give you all the things. So they give you your PSD files for your cover. They give you the formatted manuscript. You keep your rights. You just pay them a lump sum of money to help you publish it.
Well, self-publishing seemed to me like a more easy way for my books, because I think short stories and generally shorter books are a bit difficult to be represented by agents in the traditional publishing world. So I give props to the authors who decide to go through the traditional publishing process and all the frustration and stress of querying. I'm not a person who can do that, I believe. But, well, if I ever write a story that can fit the standards of the traditional publishing, maybe I will also try to query.
To be completely honest, why we started Foxfire. Our first book was co-authored. I was a first-time author. She was a first-time querying author. And we honestly didn't believe people would give us a shot because of that. Because we were both, it was a co-written first author's book. And honestly, we weren't thinking we were getting a fair shot because of that. We sent out a lot of query letters, a lot. Like, Foxfire was written 7 years ago, and we were sending queries like starting out on year 2 of it being done. So after about 3 years, we were just, no, why don't we just do it ourselves? Especially if we're going to incorporate all these other books and all these other elements into it.
I agree. We had sent out over 100 query letters, and I was so discouraged, so dejected. I was like, should we try one of our solo works first, see if we can get a foot in the door? I don't know what kind of road that's going to take us down. So why don't we look into what it would be like if we published on our own? Do we need to set up a company? Do we need to, do we need to do all of our own advertising? And so that's what we did. We looked into how to set up our own company, have all the tax ID and all of that kind of stuff. And I was still continuing to query at that point, but I finally said, even though it's going to be cumbersome, I think that's the way that we need to go. Then we're going to have freedom over what we publish. Then we're going to have freedom over how we advertise, because many of our characters are not white females. And we wanted the freedom over how they're represented in the advertising and the covers and all of that kind of stuff. That also comes with the weight of having to pick that all yourself, having to do the advertising yourself, but then our characters will be represented in the way that we want them represented. And that's why we looked into setting up our own business and self-publishing.
That was something I kind of struggled with initially was do I want to try to pitch this to a traditional publishing house? Do I want to self-publish? What's the best route? Ultimately, what I found was in my research was that when you go the traditional publishing route, yes, they front you the money to get the book published, but there's not a whole lot else that they do for you unless you're a big name writer already. They don't do a lot of promotion or marketing for you. You still have to do that yourself. And then they take a bigger cut. So I figured if I got to do the promotion and the marketing myself, I might as well see the biggest rewards and get the biggest, return on my investment. So I might as well just put the extra work into to publish myself and hope it takes off.
Some of the reasons why I chose to self-publish have been echoed by my experts, but I mainly chose to go down the self-publishing route for more control over my output. There are tons of stories in my head that I would like to tell, and if I were to allow the traditional gatekeepers to dictate which stories I can and can't publish, then I will be waiting years just to get one of my stories out. But don't get me wrong, going down the self-publishing route is hard. Very, very hard, but also extremely satisfying. I know I'm risking falling flat on my face and failing and losing massively. But to borrow and butcher an expression, I'm one of those guys who would rather have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Then again, I am an idiot. So what do I know? Thank you to all my experts who explained to me why they chose to self-publish. You can support them by checking in the description for links to their work. Buy their books, watch their videos, give them a massive shout out from the idiot on the writer's block. And don't forget, you can help me out massively by liking and sharing my videos, as well as subscribing to this channel for more tips on how to write, publish, and promote your first fiction novel. I'm Marcus, and I'll see you next time. The link to the book trailer should be one of these ones around here somewhere, so check it out. I think it is amazing. Sublime Studio, they did the illustration for the graphic novel and the book trailer, and I just gotta say, Sublime Studio, mwah!